What's up, farming family? How y'all doing today? Today, we're checking out ProXR's Zane's signature paddle. We're going to be going over the specs. We're going to be going over everything. Stay tuned. This is going to be a roller coaster review. I feel a certain way about it. My brother feels a completely different way about it. So you're going to hear two completely different opinions. So stay tuned because we feel completely different about it. I'm also going to go over the specs. You're going to see some gameplay with it, so stay tuned for that as well. I hope y'all been doing good. Enough of me running my mouth. Let's get into this. Let's get into the specs of this paddle. The core is polypropylene, like pretty much every paddle, that's on the market right now. The face is raw T700 carbon fiber. Actually, it's ultra raw, y'all. It is ultra raw. I asked when that first came out on the Instagram in the comment section what that meant. They never replied. When I got the paddle, I looked at it and it's literally just raw carbon fiber. I don't think there's anything different. I, didn't put it underneath, like a microscope or anything to, see that, but it just feels like raw carbon fiber. It has foamed edges, but they didn't say anything about thermoform. So I don't think it has, thermoformed on the edges either. I think it's just straight up foamed edge. The weight is 8.2 ounces. I'm assuming that's on average. The paddle length is 16.5 inches. The width is 7.5 inches. The handle length is 6 inches. Dude, this is the longest handle that I've used so far when it comes to pickleball paddles. The grip circumference is 4 inches. And the paddle thickness is 14 millimeters. I generally like 16 millimeters. But 14 is about as thin as I will go and feel comfortable using it, when it comes to being soft and everything. When it came to the power of this paddle, I expected it to be way poppier than what it is. It's got foamed edges, so I was like, oh, this is going to have a lot of power. It's 14 millimeter. But then after I used it, I'm like, hold up. I'm used to thermoformed edges, foamed edge, and the raw carbon fiber, all three of those features combined. Why would I think something that's only got two of those features would be more powerful than the one with the three? I don't know what was going through my head. I was completely wrong about that. It does have enough power when it comes to using it in singles for sure. It definitely has enough when it comes to using it in doubles. It's not, uncontrollable by any means. It has less power than, the thermoformed paddles that are on the market right now. I'd say probably right at the Power Air maybe, or a little bit less.
Yeah, so this paddle definitely was not crazy poppy, but it was pretty good though for like having enough power to deal with everything. So yeah, I would definitely say you could use this paddle in singles as well.
When it came to the spin, I didn't notice anything crazy. It wasn't doing anything like the Vatic or the Legacy paddles, the thermoform foam edge paddles. I'm not sure exactly why, because when I felt of the face of the paddle, it felt really, really, really gritty. Like one of the grittiest paddles I've felt. But when using it, I didn't notice, the spins being anything crazy. I would say it's probably in the upper column of spin, but I wouldn't put it up there in the top 3 or top 4 by any means. It's definitely enough to get the job done.
Yeah, so I had very similar feelings about the spin of this paddle, where it was definitely good enough to use, and I would say that it's definitely up there in the top, probably 5% of paddle spin.
When it came to the control, I found myself popping the ball up when people were, spiking it down at me when I was trying to, block it or reset it. The paddle size or the smaller head decreased my chances of getting the paddle on it and putting it back across the net and giving us another shot to make it to the net, and win the battle at the kitchen line. I found that almost impossible to do with this paddle compared to other paddles. So I don't really know if there's anything else to say about that. I didn't like that. Whenever we felt like we were in a defensive position, it felt like a hindrance more than something that was helpful.
Yeah, so this is where me and you differ. I actually generally like the longer handle and the smaller face of the paddle. I had no problems with it whatsoever. And it was just really comfortable for me to use after about a game. But I really did enjoy it overall, though.
In terms of maneuverability, it wasn't really hard to maneuver at all. I wouldn't expect it to be. Usually things that have bigger paddle heads or less aerodynamic, so they're harder to swing through, the air. And this thing has a miniature paddle head. And on top of that, if you're in hand battles and stuff, you're not going to really struggle, punching the ball back across the, net to the other people. You might, mistake it with your other paddles and think you have that extra inch or whatever at the tip and either completely miss or hit the tip of your paddle. I had that happen, occasionally because I keep switching paddles, but I'm sure if you use this paddle consistently by itself, you would be able to figure out, how to make up for the, paddle head difference. Cause I wish I would have just taken the 0.5 of the handle off and added it on the head. Cause when I'm at the kitchen doing hand battles, I tend to choke up a little bit so I can punch and get the paddle around quicker. And that led to me missing a few hits. I don't see a lot of these or most of these raw carbon fiber paddles getting destroyed or anything like that randomly. For the most part, they're going to be pretty consistent and pretty durable until the polypropylene starts to, decay or get destroyed inside. This isn't thermoform, so I'm not sure if there's been any instances of any of them delaminating yet. So we'll see. But a lot of paddles, have that flaw. It's not like it's just a new thing with thermoform paddles. It's just becoming a bigger and bigger thing on social media. So people are blowing it up. And the thermoform paddles are also making, whenever they delaminate, it makes the paw pop, harder off the paddle. And it's very inconsistent and a lot stronger. Versus other paddles, when they become dead, the ball just feels like it's just hitting a piece of plywood and falling off. But they're all still, delaminating. It's just in a very different way. When it comes to customization, I wouldn't really do a lot to this paddle other than adding an overgrip. I would have to test a little bit more and put lead all the way around it and see how I felt about that. It's already got enough pop though, so I wouldn't do that for the power. I would probably just put the lead tape on the throat, if I'm being honest with you guys. I would like to try it with it all the way around it to see how it felt though. For $209, I'm going to have a hard time recommending this paddle to people. There are so many other options on the market right now. If this paddle was $130, $140, $150, I could recommend it to people who strictly want to focus on doing two-handed shots. There are people out there, if you are, by all means, this paddle could be for you. But I really have a hard time recommending this for $209, especially when there's other paddles on the market. With a 1/2 inch shorter handle, I don't think that's enough for me to want to play with this and have a smaller head.
So for me, I really did enjoy this paddle. Like, surprisingly, if you really like the elongated handle and like a shorter face of the paddle, you will really like this paddle. But for $209, you could probably find a better paddle at a cheaper price range.
But yeah, this has been my review of the Zane's, signature paddle. As you can tell, I don't really like it. I will never play with this paddle again. I wouldn't recommend this paddle to people. That's just my personal opinion. As you can tell, my brother has a completely different opinion, but that's going to happen when it comes to people and their preferences. So when you hear someone's opinion, sort of take that opinion with a grain of rice and try to listen to other people's reviews and stuff. Because it's nice to have, 5 or 6 opinions. That way you can sort of take a consensus and be like, okay, if 4 or 5 of these like that out of the 6, it's probably going to be a decent paddle. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this. If you found this helped you, decide whether to buy this paddle or not, comment down below and let me know. I really would like to know, if people decide, to buy paddles and stuff based off the review, or if I turn them against the paddle. Because I made this channel, I want to provide honesty when it comes to these paddles. And I want people to be able to make, some sort of educated guess when it comes to these paddles. I'm not like some crazy pro player or anything like that. I'm just your average player. So this is what it feels like, in the eyes of an average player, aka, well, bam, this man, oh, God. I'm in some pain everywhere. But I hope y'all have a good day. Y'all stay safe. Drink plenty of water. Peace, y'all.